Hi, it's Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and this video is going to show you how I made this very large, approximately 4.5-inch beaded and sequined ornaments. I used I used quite a bit of sequins to stack, and I just kind of, had a lot of fun with this piece. Now, I missed a lot of the detail work. I got very sick while I was making this, and I just had to work when I could, and not every step got recorded. I think there's 15 individual videos plus this one, so 16 individual videos. It probably would have been 20 or 25 if every single little step had been recorded. So please forgive me for not doing that. In normal times I would have, but it was a really rough end of the year. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this, and I will be back in just a minute with the instructions. Hi, it's Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and I'm going to do things a little differently today. Now, I will have showed you an intro to the video showing you the finished ornament, but I'm actually making this ornament as I do the video. So I will have to do a video at the end, which you will see before this. I thought it'd be fun to take you through the entire designing process, which I really haven't done to the full extent. I've done a little bit, but not fully. So I wanted to kind of show you how I start. And the first part is, of course, picking my cookie cutter. And I decided I wanted to do a snowflake. I got this snowflake years ago from a bank that's now out of business that I absolutely loved. And they gave it to me one year, and it's quite substantial. It's a very heavy cookie cutter. It's a real pretty blue plastic, and it's a fairly good size one. It's about 5 inches across. So I thought this would be a really fun one that we could bling up, do maybe some different techniques like the sequin stacking and different things to really make this pretty. So the way I start is I pick my cookie cutter, which I didn't take you through that process because I only was choosing. I'll show you the couple I got it down to. And then I went from there. And I started with 3 choices. I was going to do a mitten. I like this slouchy sock. And then I had different snowflake patterns. But none of these really appealed to me. I really liked this one. It makes spectacular cookies too. So these might still get done before Christmas. I wanted to do an ice skate. I can't find my ice skate if I have one, so I might have to do that as just a winter ornament later. So the first thing I do is I get out my felt. Now, I have quite an extensive felt collection. I buy new felt all the time, and I want to do an icy blue. So I have this really bright icy blue. Then I have these kind of different variations of lighter blue. Some of these are mixed up. I have this one, but this is a very thick. I don't want to work on anything that's, I think this is a full millimeter, 2 millimeters. It's way too thick for an ornament. And then these are kind of more of a green, so I probably won't use these because they're more of a green, and I don't want a green snowflake. So since we're not going to use the green and we're not going to use the thick blue, we'll take those out. And then these are kind of a grayish, these kind of have a gray tone on them, and I have several sheets of those. So I'll take those gray tones out as well, because I don't think, even though you won't see the felt, I might have some sheer sequins that the color may come through a little bit. I want to have a good color. So now we're down to this kind of turquoisey, very subtle blue. I don't know if it's coming out good on camera. It looks very light blue on camera. Then there's this one. Yeah, this is, in person, this is a very light, almost a turquoisey green, so I think it's still a little too green. So we're going to go with one of these 2 shades. This is a very bright electric blue, and this is a very pale blue. Now the cookie cutter is closer to the dark color, so what I'm thinking of doing is doing the dark color on the back and the light color on the front. I just think this will give me more options with the lighter to darker sequins, and then this will look really pretty on the back. So this is what I'm going to do. Let me find my ink pad, and we will stamp it out. And I want to show you every bit of the process. And I'm not going to film every minute of the video because that would take hours. But I'm going to show you every step. So basically I'm going to take my ink pad and I'm going to well ink. And you can still use these for cookie cutters. You just got to wash them good. I don't know if the inks are toxic, but it really doesn't matter. Soap and water, get them all off. I've never had one unless I've only used it for this purpose and didn't clean it well. And I usually try to clean them very, very well. This is one of my favorite cookies, so I will definitely clean it well when I'm done. But once I've gotten it, it's better to have a couple pieces on top of each other because it gives you a little cushion to push in on. And I like to take the lid from the ink pad and kind of use it to apply pressure, because you don't want to have to re-stamp because it doesn't always line up well no matter how hard you try. So I just kind of go over it for a few seconds and really get that ink into the, and there you go. I don't know if you can see it. There is the snowflake. So now we have one light blue, and now I will take and I will just flip it over and I will stamp out one of the dark blue for the back. And this is really handy. And you could do this to cut out fabric, felt, paper. You can do this for anything. If you have a paper cutter like a Cricut, which I did, but I donated it to my daughter because she's started publishing her art and she needed a Cricut and I wasn't really using it, so I gave it to her. But it's there if I ever need it. I can go to her house and borrow it for a day. So it's not that big of a deal. The amount I'm using it, which is 0, and the amount she'll use it, which is quite a bit, determined where it was going to live. So, alright, now all I do is when I get to this point, I like to rough cut around the piece really quick. So I'll take my scissors and I will go really close to the pattern, because I don't like to waste much felt. And I'll go as close as I can without hurting my pattern. And I will cut it out like this. Now, I forgot to take the paper off. Smart thing to do is pull the paper off before you stamp, because sometimes it can stretch it out. But I think it's okay. And try not to stamp on that piece until you have to. But I don't care. It's no big deal. I do it all the time. So after you rough cut around it, it makes it so much easier to cut out the pattern. You don't have big heavy chunks of the felt hanging on the piece. And so you're just going to cut it out right on the lines. Don't worry about the lines, because the thing is, there's two things you can do. You can rinse them. If you're not going to bead the same day, you can wash the felt and get that off, or take a baby wipe. But honestly, if you're going to use really opaque sequins, you can leave it in the front. If not, you can just leave it on the back. If you cut on the line really carefully, you won't have that much ink showing anyway. But you need a good detail scissor like this. You really want something that will get in there into those little parts. This is not something you want to use a big pair of crafting scissors like this for. Now, I have used tiny, for years, all I had were sewing scissors, and I have to credit Happy Bird's Glitter Nest for these scissors, because I love Lori's channel. I haven't been watching as religiously as I used to, just this year has been that way. But her channel is amazing, and many of you who follow me know who she is. She talks about using these little detail scissors, and that's how I learned about them. These are a Singer. But if you've never heard of Happy Bird's Glitter Nest, and you like basic crafting, she does jewelry and crafting that's really nice. But that's how I learned about these scissors, so I like to give credit where credit is due. And I did not even know these existed. That's why I too like watching crafting channels, because I learn a lot. And I know like watching paint dry, but I just wanted to show you. I'll just do half of it. Well, anyway, I'm not going to do this side all the way through, because that'll take forever. So the next step we're going to do is we're just going to look at this the way it is uncut. Now we got to match some sequins. And I'm going to show you, this is just my blue sequins. It's a shoebox. It's a shoebox full of sequins. That's ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is start by not, like obviously I'm not going to do any cobalt blue. So I'm going to pull out of the box the things that might work. Anything that's in the colors that might work. Like this is too, I don't know, the color's just off. But anything I think might work, I will put in on my page. These are one I got at Joann's, I believe, and they're absolutely stunning. They are kind of a hologram. They've got multicolors in them. They might be good. This is a vintage sequin I have. But anything that's in a light blue that I think might work, I'm going to pull out of my box and see how it goes. And this is how I do every ornament that I make for you guys. Yep, that's so good. I pull out a pile of sequins. And then I look and see what I think. Now I won't pull every single one out that I have that I think would go, because I think it might be too many. I think this is slightly different than that one. And then this looks like silver, but it's called Cool Water Blue. It's almost silver. I mean, to glance at it, you'd think it's silver, honestly. So I don't think I'll use that because it would be too confusing. But I've got all these so far, and I think those are the best matches I have. And I'll get different sizes out too, because I do plan on doing a little bit of layering, because I think this piece kind of screams for it. Some kind of layering techniques. And if you don't know what that is, I've done a few different videos on layering the sequins. And let me show you real quick kind of what I'm talking about, because I have some kind of buttons I made up here that show what I'm talking about. This is stacking the sequins. Is I take and I stack them like this, and that makes a really interesting. See, I even got some blue ones that would work good. So like, here's what I do. I'll take like a bunch of snowflakes, and then put a big flat one underneath. And this is, you know, how I layer. So I will be getting some shapes and different designs out, so I can layer maybe the tips of the middle of each snowflake, or in the very center. So I'll be doing a little bit of that in this one. So I want to have some different shapes and sizes. But right now I'm simply just going through. These I get from Tuesday Morning for $1.99 each, and every season they have new, and every year they have new. These are just 3 of the blues I've gotten from them over the years. And I've probably got a dozen different ones from them. Now this is 15 to 20 years of collecting from Cartwright's. I didn't just do this overnight. I've been buying from Cartwright's since they sold their sequins like this and hand bagged them. And now they do them like this. So I've been buying from them probably 12 years. I don't know, because back then they didn't have where you sign up and you have a membership. There's another Tuesday Morning. So I have no way to go back and find out when my first order was. But I'm going to find out. I think I'm going to call them and ask them when they started selling. Because I bet you I've been buying from them a good amount of those years. When I found them, I lost my mind, as you can see from all these sequins. Okay, this is another good one. So these are all the blues I pulled out of the box. Look at that. Am I going to use all these? Absolutely not. But I got to start with this. So what I'll do is I'll go through this, and I will slowly figure out which ones I want to use and then place them on a tray. And I will leave those particular bags out, because that's the worst thing you can do, is put them back before you put them back in the bag, because then you lose track. So you pick the ones, and I know I'm going to probably use these big ones here. I like those. These are too teal. I won't use those. These are too dark blue. I probably won't use those. And these are more like denim blue, so I won't use those. I like these little light blues here. And then I definitely want to find a space to use these in. These are a little dark. I don't like that. These, I think, are a different size of these. These are Hobby Lobby, and I think I have these in a couple different. These are a 10, I believe, and these are an 8. So that's good. These are teal. They're too dark. Maybe. These are, again, these silvery blue, but these are a little darker than those other ones I showed you. These are too white. If I'm going to use white, I'm going to use white. These are called Maui. These are one of their newest opalescent that I'm obsessed with. And I have the Maui in the bigger ones, too. I do like the Maui. I will probably use those. Anything too dark. Now, this is a metallic vintage, as well as, I think I have another one. I thought I had another. Oh, yeah. These are both from when I first started doing my beadwork 30 years ago. This is a silvery blue, very, very pale, and this is a little bit darker one. Now, I think this is the same as this in the smallest color. I think when it went to the smaller, it changed slightly, but these are all Hobby Lobby. Easy to get. Now, these might not be the same one you get today. This is light blue, and light blue. So you can see how it changes with the different sizes. Large, medium, and small. I do like this Valley Breeze. It's kind of a sheer. This is kind of a thick one. I think I'll put that back. This is a light blue, which I do want a couple light blues. This is similar to that one. This is also a hologram. But you can see these holograms are slightly different. These have no color in them. These have multicolor. These might end up being the ones I actually use rather than the ones with the multicolor. And then there's this light blue here, but it's not really shimmery. It's a light turquoise, so I don't think I'll use that. But here is Oceanside, which is very similar to the Maui, as you can see. It's just got a little bit more rich color in it. And that's going to be my blues. Now next I'm going to go through my whites and my shapes. And I'll come back when I've picked out a few other sequins, and then we'll go from there. I thought I'd show you my white box, which is actually a sweater box. So it's bigger than the brown box, or the blue box. Those, I'm going to point you up toward my sequins up here. Let me walk you over. This is what I have. See, I'm trying to get this there. I've got all these small boxes, individual colors. There's another one that goes up here, which is green, I think. Then I've got my big bulk bags. These are multi-bags, like anything that's got more than one color. Why is the camera not... I'm trying to get you focused on what I'm pointing at. There we go. This is for just mixed up, like if there's more than one color in the bag. Bulk, and then those are all my shapes up there. And then it's all the colors. Green goes up here. And then these are my whites. Whites, tans, beiges, they're all, unless they're more of a brown. If they're whites and beiges, they're all in this box. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out some whites and add them to our pile, and I'll be right back. Now, I got a lot of whites out. I got more of those opalescents. I got a bunch of different clears. And I think I'm wrong. I think these might be Michael's, not Joann's. I think these were Joann's, and this is the top of a 3-part bag. And it started with the larger on top. Joann. Yeah, this one's Joann's. And it doesn't say Michael's on it, but I'm pretty sure this one's Michael's. I don't get to Michael's quite that often, but I picked out like a whitest white, and then I have, this is a vintage one I've had for years. And then some clears, some different sized whites. This was the one I bought on clearance at Hobby Lobby. When they go on clearance for 50 cents, if it's a color I'll use, I'll buy every bag for 50 cents. I will. I'm not going to lie. So I'll buy 3 or 4 if they're available. They're so rare I find them because I don't get in there often enough. But I did buy a bunch of them when they were on clearance. I got clears and whites in all different sizes. These are a couple more of the ones from, and these might be the same one. These might be. This one has snowflakes. This was a Christmas mix from a year ago. It had snowflakes in it. This is some vintage sequins I picked up in an estate sale or in a lot online in a little thing. Same with this one. These are just some vintage ones that I got in a little bottle. These were another 50-cent clearance at Hobby Lobby. I bought 2 or 3. I think I bought 4 bags of these big giant ones. And that's what I used on these buttons for the back, because they're so big. So anyway, so now I got my whites and I've got my blues. The next thing I'm going to do is get out my snowflakes, and I'll show you the snowflakes when I've got them out. Okay, here's all the snowflakes I've acquired over the years. These were at Hobby Lobby. I believe they still have those. These I ordered in bulk off of eBay for really cheap. They're silver. And these are just, I don't even know where I got these. They're another bulk silver. And then I got a bunch of different mixes from Cartwright's. These were from Target. This is how they originally came. I had 2 of these little tubs, and I think some of them are in bags. So it's 2 tubs worth from Target years ago, in their little dollar bins. I think I paid $1 for these. It's very rare they have that kind of thing. And then when I bought a big vintage lot of sequins years ago, I held on to this one blue for myself and did not sell it. Now you may ask, what a mess. Okay, now I talk about putting things away when you're done, and on an average ornament that's what I do. But when I do this type of project, like when I did this one, I made a plate. And I just put all the things I was using for that mix on the plate, because I love the color combination, and I will do more in this color combination. I have one that's in Christmas colors as well, which I will do more of the stacking in this. So I just take a Chinette plate, and I put all the pieces on that Chinette plate, and then I've got it for future projects. And I have a stack of these that I keep up on my countertop over here. And this is some more that I did with the stacking of the sequins. So you can see there are videos on the stacked sequined ornaments. But anyway, I keep them so that I have them. I've got Chinette plates below them, and then I always keep one on top, a couple on top, a couple plates on top to keep them in place. And I've got projects and all kinds of things stacked up back here. So I got a fresh Chinette plate. And now what I'm going to do is take a variety of these different sequins, put them on this plate, and then I will be back. Okay, this is what I did. I put all the different blues here, all the different whites here, and every snowflake except for the white opalescent, I'm going to do those as I need them. And then for those of you that are triggered by a mess, this will probably drive you crazy, but then I'm just going to mix them all together. And I love having these trays, and eventually I'll have them in all the different colors, because this really makes it easy for me to create. Because I don't have to use this for just this one project. If I'm going to do a project where I need mainly blues, I can just pull this out, and I've got all these blues, silvers, and whites. And I am going to grab a few silvers and golds and put them on this tray as well. So I'll just sprinkle a few metallic, and those will just be simple metallic silvers in different colors, and maybe a couple golds in different colors. But I think just silvers, actually, because I think silver, blue, and white go so well together. I'm also going to pull out a few of my flowers as well, and mix a few of my flowers into here real quick as well. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, and I grabbed out a bunch of other shapes, and I have mixtures like this that I believe I bought at Joann's, and I can pull out some of the silver pieces in here. And this one might be Michael's. Again, I can pull out the blue and white elements in there. A couple more Cartwright pieces that I had bought I can add to the pile. Some unusual shapes, and this one's opalescent with a pattern in it, and this is a round pattern. This is a vintage blue I've had for years. Again, some bags of mixtures I can open up and take out the colors I want. I've got quite a few of these different. This is from a friend. I can pull out what I want for this. And then some other miscellaneous these are little flowers that they sell at Cartwright's. I have about 10 different blues and whites I can use. and some of their bigger flowers as well in blues and whites that I can use. So when I come back, all these elements will be on the tray. It'll be a very full tray, but I'm excited about it because I can use this all year for all different projects, picking out the pieces that'll work for that project. So this is something you can do if you want to have project trays, but if you prefer, you can just put a small pinch of the colors you want to use and then put them away when you're done. But if you're going to do that, leave those bags out. It makes it a lot easier to put them away later. So I'll be back when the whole tray's done. Okay, this is what I'm back with. This is my tray of all my pieces mixed together. And if this horrifies you, this might not be the option for you, but this is beautiful to me because this gives me so much creativity. I can use this for anything that's in the blues, whites, and silvers, both Christmas and non-Christmas. I can just pull this tray out of my stack, and if you don't feel comfortable storing it on a tray, you can put it in a small zip bag and lay the zip bag flat on the tray, which may be what I end up doing because this one's pretty full. Now, as you know, I cut out my snowflakes. This is what I've decided to do. And this is the part you never see when I'm making a video, is my playing with the parts and pieces. You just see my finished idea. But I thought I didn't like how it looked with just the simple one layer. I wanted to do 2 layers, but it was I didn't like how it would look stitched together. So I thought if I stitch these onto a round piece, and what I used for that is a very large cutter. This is one of my treasures of my cookie cutter collection. I'll show it to you. Is this set I bought on eBay, and you can get them very inexpensively. This is a vintage baker's set that I bought for like 20 bucks, and it's got all the different sizes. And I just kept trying it till I got one that was big enough. I stamped out a piece of white, and then I stamped out a back for it. So what I'm going to do is figure out what I'm putting in the center and anchor this together with the center piece. And to do the center, I'll do kind of the old-fashioned where we kind of do this. It's real simple. Fold it and fold it. And then kind of get your center like that. And I can put a dot on there. And so, let me show you what I did. I folded it. I had the other circle. I folded it and folded it to a quarter, and that can give me my center dot, which I will mark in the center of the piece. I'll double measure it a couple of times. Once I'm sure that's my center, I'll mark it, and then we'll put the anchor piece in, which I've still got to figure out. But this is, I wanted to show you as I'm doing it. That was the whole point of this video, to show you how a piece comes together. So I'll be right back once I've got the center for sure pinpointed, and we will then start putting the piece together. Okay, so what I wanted to do is find out where the middle was. So I stamped out a paper, the same circle on paper, and put it around till I got a circle. And I would normally put the center in first, but since I'm going to be doing one that kind of overlaps, I'm going to leave a small area around this dot that I've put, and then put the center in last. I just have to leave a small circle around it. And we're going to pick the first thing I'm going to do is make sure everything is centered the way I want it, that I have all of these pieces the way I want them. I'm not worried if the tips go slightly over, because when I stitch it together it'll all come together. But and then I'm just going to pick a place, and I'm thinking I'll start with the center of the ends, and I'll just do a few of these real quick. And then I come up from the back, I leave a knot, and then I go back down, leaving a little bit of thread on top to anchor the felt, or anchor the thread. Then I'm going to come up through there, and then I've got to decide what I'm going to put. And I think I'm going to alternate a bright white with a couple of different elements on it. I've got lots of different snowflakes, in different colors. Here's a pretty blue that would look nice. And I'm just going to play, is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it down the thread. I'm going to play with this, just layering them. And this is not permanent until I go through it with a seed bead on top. So I'm just going to play until I get it the way I like it. And once I've picked what I'm doing on each tip, I will come back and show you. But this is going to take a little time to practice, and not practice, but to experiment. See what I like. And once I get 3 or 4, maybe even 5 sequins stacked that I'm really happy with for each of the 2 colors, I'll come back, and that'll be the same on each of the light blue, and the one I do here will be the same on each of the dark blue. So I'll be right back to show you what I'm doing. Okay, this is where I'm at right now, and how I did it is first I stitched these onto the dark blue. Then after all of the little stacked sequins were on the dark blue, I set the light blue on top and started sewing them. Now this is a little more complicated than a normal one because I sew and tie off each one individually. So I come up through the middle, and the way I set them is I stuck a needle down into the beading mat, and then I stacked them till I liked how it looked, and I'll show you exactly what I used. Hold on a minute. For this one I used, hold on, I do my double. My thread is stuck. I don't know what's going on here. Oh no, oh, that's funny, I tied 2 knots. That's what happens when you leave the room after you tie the first knot. You accidentally tie another one. Okay. So I don't know why this thread is not pulling out. There. See, I'm just having a day. Okay, let me start that over. This is real life here. Okay, so I come through, and it's doing it again. Okay. I untied the knot. Oh, I guess my scissors did not cut it. Okay, that's what I did wrong. Okay. So I come through the one time for each, and that's for each one of these, and then I go back down through, laying a pretty good sized piece of thread on top of the felt to help secure the knot. Then I come back up like that. Then what I used is one of these really cool disc looking sunbursts, which you can buy at McAllister's. I use a sunburst right there, white. Then I put one of these really cool, I think these are called Moon Glow flowers. I got to get it right because I want the bubble to this one has texture, and I want the texture facing up. So I want to put it on upside down, kind of like I do a regular sequin when I'm doing a regular ornament. Then after that I did this really pretty metallic blue, and it was in the, I don't remember if it was in the snowflakes or the flowers. Then I did this gorgeous opalescent or opal white flower. Let me pull that on and show it to you. A little opalescent flower. And then I put one of my favorite seed beads on, and you can use whatever color you want, and most people are not going to have the amount of sequins and stuff that I have to choose from. But you have to understand, this is a 30-year addiction. That's how I'm going to call it. But these I got at Aura Crystals a couple years back. I'm pretty sure this color still exists. Silver lined milk white. And it's a real pretty milky white opalescent looking seed bead that has a lining in it. And it says silver lined, but it sure doesn't look silver. It looks almost of a gold, but it says silver. But they're just really pretty. That's my favorite seed bead, and I've got them in several colors. So then I go through, and I come back down, and then I go on the back, and I just go deep in there, try to catch that blue felt at least one time. And then I pull. And if I can catch it a couple times, that's even better. I try to keep my stitch smaller than the biggest sequin, so it'll be hidden. And I just go around a few times like that. and then I'll go the other direction a couple times. And I did this on every single one of these ends. Now this is a little more time consuming, and then I just do one last one and I cut it. I do not glue it. And that's our center, which I'm not going to do yet. Now, what I'm going to do is decide on something I can put on at least the tips, and then maybe I'll do something small on each of the other tips, because I don't mind rounding these out. I'm not really sure I like the triangular shape, so I don't mind putting a circular sequin on the end of each one to round it, and where it goes over the edge like that, you just take your scissors and just make it even. Now you got to remember, I've told you this more than once if you've watched more than one of my videos. I'm not about perfection, ever. I think what makes homemade things beautiful is their imperfections. I do my best, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to pick a round bead or sequin that will go on each one of these ends. I might do them all the same. I'm not sure every one is going to be different on the two colors. And then I'll do something on each of these ends. And then I will figure out what I'm going to do. Now this whole thing is not going to be solid sequins, because with the stacked sequins it's very hard to do. You can do it, but it's much harder. And I think I want to let a little of the felt shine through. So I will have a center, and I'll have something on each one of these. And like I said, the end. So when I come back, I'll have figured out at least the end and have started on those. Now, even on those though, I'm still going to tie off each one because it's just too big of a jump to go from there to there. So these are a little more work, but they're just so worth it because I think it's going to be very pretty when it's done. Because there'll be a middle, and once the middle's in, then I can decide what to do here. Now, other things you can do is use bugle beads and shaped sequins. You can do all kinds of interesting things to make it one of a kind, and basically use what you've got. It doesn't have to be blue. You could do the snowflake in all white. You could do it in cream and white. You could do it in red and white, green and white, or the blue. Whatever color of felt that you have, use that. Felt's a really cheap medium to work with, and that's why I love it, because you can go, for $10 you can buy some felt, you can buy some seed beads, you can buy some sequins, and have enough stuff to do quite a few projects. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so this is what I've got done for the center of the ornament. And I stacked them all up. Now I've got to take them off and lay them out, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. I'll get the other pieces off the tray first. I always lay out a bunch of stuff and play with it as I go, and these are the things that were left over from when I played. So we will take apart the pile so I can reconstruct it. And what I used was I'll show you the elements. It's a pretty tall structure here. It's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sequins. These are the ones I used. I started with this silver, really pretty cutout. This white, ruffly sunburst. Wait, where'd it go? Okay, white. So the silver one that's cut out, real pretty reticulated piece. A sunburst, a spoke, a white flower, a blue metallic flower, and then a little tiny iridescent flower that fits in there, and then of course one of my seed beads. So that's what I'm going to put on to the middle of this ornament. So like I did before, I'm going to tie a knot, and then after I do this, I'll come back as I figure out the next step. This is a more complicated than normal one, but I kind of find it soothing and fun because it takes some thought and thinking and figuring out, and that's what I think makes an ornament much more personal and fun. Now I'm going to come up through that dot in the middle, and I'm not worrying about it being absolutely perfect. Again, I'm going to go through the middle and come back up just to secure the center. This secures the whole end is sewn together. At least the felts are sewn down. The blues are sewn down, but this will hold it down in the middle, which will give it a lot more solid feel. And every other sequin added will hold down the whole piece. So I put on the silver. Then I'm going to put on the white ruffly one. The silver spoke. I'm doing the flower with the cup side facing down so it's puffy. Then I'm going to put on this really pretty metallic blue flower. And where did my other flower go? Uh-oh. I knocked my other flower off the tray. Somehow it was just here. Oh, there it is. It's got an iridescent shiny center. And then let's put that seed bead on there. And, whoops, this is what it looks like. Then I'm just going to go down the center of the whole pile, which is fun to do because you got to kind of push your way through each of the centers one at a time. Okay, hold on. Let me take my glasses off. Oftentimes these kind of things are easier for me. Okay, now remember, you don't go back through the seed bead. You just go through the sequins. Whoop. There we go. Now, is it perfectly center? Probably not. It's probably slightly off. But I'm not worried about it. It looks good enough. It's really hard to get it perfect. But let me stitch this down and show you how it looks. Okay, there it is stitched down. And this is what my snowflake looks like for now. I'll be back once I've figured out what I'm going to put here and what I'm going to put on these ends. And it'll be some sort of stack here. This might just be a simple 1 or 2 stacks on the ends. And then we'll decide what to do on these tips, if anything. I might just round off the tips. I haven't decided yet, but I think at least a small sequin on each one. And I've got some tiny little ones, like this one. I don't know if you can see the one that's kind of floating on my, it's almost see-through. It's, I think, a 4 or a 5 millimeter. Little tiny see-through sequin right there. I'm trying to get it off. But anyway, that's what we have so far. This one reminds me of a chrysanthemum. See if I can speak. I really like how that looks. So anyway, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, now I'm not even sure where I left off on this ornament. I've just been slowly working on it. But what I'm going to do is just show you how to do the edging. And I cut 2 circles, and they're matched up as well as I can get. You kind of sometimes have to go back and forth, especially on something round. Even though you cut it in a circle, it somehow does never, so you can see it's, the edge is not perfect. So basically I'm going to pick an area, just start stitching it together, and if I have to trim a little bit down the line, I will. Now what I decided to do is I'm going to do white in the middle and a light blue on each light blue. Well, this is actually dark blue. I'm going to do the dark blue where the dark blue point is, then do white, and then do a light blue edge where the light blue is, and just keep alternating this all the way around. I'm not going to go by the sequin. I'm going to go by the actual point of the snowflake. And this will give it a little break up and make it look a little bit more interesting. But I just wanted to show you close up kind of what I did on this piece. I did a whole bunch of accents. Now you could do more. You could probably put more sequins in, but when I overlapped this, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get it perfect. So these aren't perfectly matched. You can see there's room here, but not much room here. So if you were going to do that, you'd have to make really careful choices that everything was matched perfectly. And this one, you know, I'm not perfect. I don't try to be perfect. So I decided at some point I got to just stop. So I figured this is a good place to stop. But you can do as much decorating as you want. You could cover every inch of it with sequins and seed beads, or you could just put a little bit of decoration. But this is where I decided to end, and I alternated a lot of these points. So as you can see, I put a dark and a light, and the same here, I alternated, and then I put a large center on there, and then on here I alternated. These look like they might be the same sequin all the way around, but I did the white in between. So I just tried to do a little bit of fun decorating on here, and just you know, wanted to make it fancy, just something fun. But that's what I like about layering the sequins, is you can kind of do whatever you want. You can layer different shapes, different sizes, and come up with a really interesting pattern. So right now I'm going to show you how to do the edge. But like I said, I don't even know where I left off, so there might be some steps missing on this. But I had 2 teeth pulled. I ended up being sick. Then I ended up having to deal with something else on top of that. And finally, after 5 weeks of all this, I'm finally feeling better, and I just have to pick up where I left off. So we're going to start with one of the white sections, but I'm going to start fairly close to the blue so that we can go right over to one of the blues. So basically the way I do my edging is I go in between the 2 pieces. So I'm going to make sure I've got this light so that you can see. Okay, I'm coming up between the 2 pieces of fabric, and I've tied a knot, and the knot will go between the 2 pieces of fabric. Then I'm going to go back around to the back in the same spot and pull so that it will go around the edge. So you see it pulls around. Now I'm going to take and add 3 seed beads to my thread to get started, and then I'm going to go right back about where I started. And then what that's going to do is, see, it kind of makes it crooked. Now, going the direction, you always go the direction you want to go. You're going to pull that last seed bead. You're going to go up through it, going the direction that you're going. Not, so you want to go the furthest over. So in other words, since I'm going this direction, I'll pull the last one. Now, I'm going to tell you, the first stitch is always going to be sideways. There's just no way to fix it. Now, I'm going to do blue for this next one because I'm going over the edge. I'm going to do a couple stitches with blue. Oh, I caught onto my tripod there. I do a couple stitches in the light blue. And see how that looks. It might come out terrible. This is something new I've never tried before. It doesn't have to be perfect. Keep in mind, this is your creation. So see, I just did a little bit of stitching right there in the light blue. Now I'm going to do white until I get to this edge, and then I'll do the darker blue. So I'm going to do a few stitches, and you're just adding 2 seed beads after the first 3. So I'm just adding 2, and I go back up going the direction I'm going, and just keep pulling. And I'm just going to keep going in this direction. I'll come back when I do this dark blue and show you how that looks. Okay, now I'm about to do the blue, the dark blue here. So I'm going to add 2 dark blue, and I'm going to keep going right around from the back. I'm going to keep coming through the back, and then going the direction you're going, up through the seed bead, like that. And you're just going to keep doing this all the way around. Now, of course, you can do the edge the same color all the way around. You don't have to. In fact, I was originally just going to do a white edge, and then I was going to do a blue edge, and I thought this might be kind of different and fun to do 2 different blues with the white in between. But there's, you know, like I tell you in all my videos, there's no right or wrong. Whatever you like. And I'm not making it perfect. Okay, now I'm going to go back to white, and I'll come back when I get down to the last couple stitches, show you how to finish it off, and we'll do the loop. But basically it's going to be light blue, dark blue, light blue, dark blue with white in between, and we'll see how it looks when we're done. I'll be right back. Okay, now I've gone over this on other videos, but I wanted to show you again how to do the last stitch. And basically I came up through the bead, and there's the first stitch right there. And I'm going to take one more bead, and basically I'm going to go down the very first bead that I added on, which will put the third bead on top. And then I just go on the back and tie it off. You can tie it off with a knot. Anyway, it just came off. But I go around a few times this way, a few times this way. Now I'll come back and show you how to do the loop. So I'll be right back. Alright, now to do it, now I also lightly stuffed this as I made it. Now you can come up through any area you want to do the loop. I figure I'll come up through, excuse me, still got a little bit of a cough. I'll come up through a color. So I'll come up through this light blue. Now I'm going to try to come up right at the point, so it's real nice on the edge there. And I'm just going to bring my double thread, and I did a double thread, and I come up through there, and then I'm going to take, and I lay out a ruler. Now I have a nice little ruler, but I'm going to do 6 inches of beads, because then when I loop it around, it'll be a 6-inch loop. Or a 3-inch loop, in other words. Now, being this is such a big ornament, I may actually do this one a little bit longer, because I think a 3-inch loop might not look right, because this is a very, very large ornament. It's about 4.5 inches across. So let me see. I'll be back when I get 4 to 5 inches of beadwork on there, and we'll see if that's long enough. Okay, I decided to go ahead and do 10 inches of beads, being this is such a large ornament. And I just basically strung 10 inches of seed beads. On an average ornament, I would do about 6 inches. And then I come right back, I look at, see where I came through, and then I go to the, so see, I came through here. Where is it? I came through this bead. You can see how the string comes up through this bead, so I'm going to come back down the one next to it with the bead on top in between. So if you watch, you'll see how, and I do a double string just to make sure it's thick and very secure, and you'll see that the two strings are next to each other, and then I'm just going to tie it off, and I do that by going through and making a loop several times this direction, and I kind of go around the knot that I put there, and then I'm going to go around this direction as well, and then I just tie it off. Now you can put a dot of glue, but I never have, and I've never needed it. Now this is an extra big ornament, so I think the extra long beadwork looks better. I don't know where I'll use this, probably not on my tree. It might get hung on a dresser or a hutch or something like that. But I will never probably do one quite this big again. I kind of regret it, but I was just having a little bit of fun. But you can do the same thing with several different snowflake cookie cutters and layer them. I wish I had done smaller. This was way too big. I do have some smaller ones, and I wish at this point I had done a little bit smaller, but it was still a lot of fun, and I'll use it as a display on something next year. But anyway, that's how you can do a snowflake, and you can just cut two different or the same even. These were the same that I just cut, one in light blue and one in dark blue, and then I laid them on top of each other and rotated them so they alternated. But you could do the same thing with a couple different shapes as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, I am not sure if this is even a good video because I started it weeks ago. I'm going to do my best to put up a video that's easy to follow, but I ask you to forgive me if it's not quite right. But I ended up being sick and just didn't get in here to work on it all these weeks, and I kind of lost track of what I was doing. But anyway, so thank you so much, and I'll be back soon with my next video. Bye.